Hello and welcome to our video about Gloucester Docks. Look, spring is here. Everything's flowering and blossoming and coming out of its winter cocoon, and some of them are making babies. Not Karen and I, we've done all of that in the past. Before we go into the video, here is a little bit about the Netheridge Bridge, which was the last swing bridge built on the canal. It opened in 2007. Have a look. The bridge here is the Netheridge Bridge, and we're about 2 miles down south from Gloucester Docks. The Netheridge Bridge was put in place as the final item of a project called the 2 Mile Cut, because we're about 2 miles down. Basically, they cut out a bend in the river to allow for the building of a bypass just over here. It runs just a few hundred yards over that way. There's a little bit of the original canal left just here, and it joins a section a few hundred yards that way. Even though it's a nice day and there is boat traffic on the canal, I don't think we're going to get to see the swing bridge in operation. It requires a vessel with much more headroom, and little boats like this one don't really come into that category. Hello and welcome to I Do Canals. I'm Simon. My partner in crime can't be with me today. There's some family stuff going on. Here's a quick word from Karen.
Hi, Karen here. Sorry I can't be with you today. I've got family commitments. In the meanwhile, I'm going to pass you over to Simon, who's going to talk to you about the Gloucester Docks. See you next week.
Anyway, this is the River Severn navigation. It's flowing quite quickly. We've had a lot of rain over the last 2 weeks. The lock here leads into the most northern end of the Gloucester Sharpness Canal, and primarily what we're here to say, the Gloucester Docks. We're going to have a look at that. Gloucester Docks was one of the largest, and still is, in fact, one of the largest inland docks on the canal and navigable river system. It's really impressive. In its day, it was a massive receiving and sending point of grain and timber and all manner of other goods from here and to all over the country. It received grain from Argentina and products from all over the world. Really busy. Today, there's still a massive dry dock fully in operation. There's a lot of private moorings in some of the side docks, which we're going to take a peek at as well. There's museums, there's cranes, there's massive bits of dredging kit. There's loads to see. We've had a little peep with the drone, had to do it from a distance, but I'm sure you'll enjoy that too. Let's go take a look. This is looking back at that lock from inside the docks. It's pretty sizable. Here's its dimensions. There would have been a number of cranes just like this one, steam driven and able to carry quite considerable weights of goods on and off of boats. And they'll have made their way around the dock system on tracks just like these. There's quite a lot of the tracks left, although many of them have gone. Gloucester Docks is one of the most significant inland ports in the United Kingdom. Its construction began in 1793 and was completed in 1827 under the supervision of engineer William Telford. The construction of the docks was driven by the need to improve transportation between the cities of Gloucester and Bristol, which were important centres of trade in the 18th and 19th centuries. The River Severn, which runs through both cities, was difficult to navigate due to its strong currents and very frequent floods, making it an unreliable mode of transportation. Telford's solution was to build a canal that connected the River Severn to the River Thames via the Canal, allowing for goods to be transported to London and beyond. The canal was built with a width of 86 feet, allowing for 2 barges to pass each other and a depth of 18 feet to accommodate larger vessels. The construction of the docks involved the excavation of over 22 million cubic feet of earth, whilst the construction of the canal was such an enormous undertaking it employed over 4,000 workers at its peak. Despite the challenges, the canal was completed on time and within budget. It quickly became an important centre for trade in the region. Today, Gloucester Docks is a thriving tourist destination with its historic warehouses and industrial architecture, not to mention shops, restaurants and museums. Its importance to the region's history and economy cannot be overstated, and its construction remains a testament to the ingenuity and skill of its engineers and workers. The buildings opposite will have replaced what would have been in the past more warehouses. Today they're shops and private apartments. There would not have been a single square yard around these wharfs and dock sides that were not filled with warehouses or equipment to load or unload them. Those buildings are private apartments, but built in very much a similar style that reflects the existing warehouses. In their place, before they were built, were at least another 6 warehouses right there. The Gloucester Docks were incredibly busy, and over the 50 years since they opened, about another 20 or so warehouses were built. A great many of the warehouses have been converted to pubs and even microbreweries. There's a great deal of great eateries offering cuisine from countries all around the world. There's an enormous amount of takeaways. You really are spoilt for choice. You want to come souvenir shopping, there's all sorts. Just beyond the warehouses is an enormous shopping centre, and that's well worth a visit. Many of the buildings have been turned into clubs and pubs, and there are, of course, pubs what were warehouses as well. The nightlife around the Gloucester Docks is extensive. It's a great place to come out and eat, have a drink, meet friends, party, on into the night. Yet another swing bridge leads through to the East Dock, where there are moorings for about 40 to 45 boats, and I believe it's long-term moorings. From here you can find your way to the Gloucester Quays, and there are so many fantastic shops here, lots of designer shops. You can enjoy browsing over 50 stores from clothing to homeware. Find yourself or your loved one something really nice. There's also the award-winning National Waterways Museum, and it documents the 200-year history of the docks and the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal. Gloucester Docks is also home to the Soldiers of Gloucestershire Museum, also worth a visit. Definitely get yourself down to Gloucester Docks. Back in the day when this was at its height, there would have been big 3 and even 4-masted sailing vessels here, full of cargo. And the port was so busy, the docks were so busy, that boats often had to moor in the middle of the basin and wait until there was available quay space for them to come and unload. Sometimes it was still so busy that they would unload to narrowboats that pulled alongside them. Absolutely incredible. This was a real hive of activity, incredibly busy. This little 4-wheel bogie is quite typical of what would have used the masses of rail tracks all around the docks. Likely as not, it would have been pushed by a couple of men, possibly more, just to move cargoes to and from different boats. This is the Llanthony lift bridge, the lower of the 2 lift bridges leading into the Gloucester Docks, and it's named after the priory, which we're going to cover in a moment. Away in the distance there, underneath the arch, you can see the counterbalance beam of the High Orchard lift bridge. It has a much higher archway underneath, and most boats can pass without it having to lift. It's only larger vessels like this chappie over here, and of course anything with a mast that can't fold it down. This now disused centrifugal water pump is known locally as the Snail. You can see why, can't you? Built by engineers Gwyn Pumps, and it was installed in 1964. Remained in use in 2001. It was capable of pumping 47,000 gallons a minute. That's equivalent to an Olympic-sized swimming pool being filled every 10 minutes. It was in its time one of the largest capacity water pumps on the British Waterways network. The Gloucester Sharpness Canal, which was opened in 1827, has 5 natural water sources that feed into it, including the River Cam and the River Frome. To supplement these natural feeders, water has always been pumped into the canal from the River Severn since 1834. Originally, the extra water was to support all of the barges and ships and other boats that used the canal as a major route. Well, these days, the extra water is needed to supply drinking water to the people of Bristol via the treatment works a little bit further down the canal at Purton. There are 2 dry docks here in Gloucester Docks. One is quite clearly bigger than the other. And the vessel that's inside this dock, Kahu, has been here since late last year, probably autumn last year. I was through and I took a photograph then. At that time, I think both the propellers were both still on. Clearly, Kahu has been in this dock for so long that the grass has grown at both ends of the dock. The other boat in the smaller lock was not here then. There was a much larger vessel, and I think it was this one that is now covered over and out in the main basin. The boat currently in the smaller dry dock is called Mair, M-A-I-R. The dry docks are owned and managed by T. Nielsen and Company. The mariner's mission was first proposed for Gloucester as early as 1831. It was actually built in 1849 and had an opening ceremony on the 11th of February that year. Initially for the workers of Gloucester Docks, crews of the boats and vessels moored there, and of course it's always been open to Gloucester residents themselves. It is a simple building with just a nave and a bell tower. It is still in regular use today. Gloucester Docks played an essential role during both the World Wars as a strategic port for the transportation of troops, weapons and supplies. During the First World War, the docks were used as a base for minesweepers and anti-submarine vessels. In addition, Gloucester was an important railway centre, and the railway lines from the docks to the rest of the country were used to transport troops and equipment. During the Second World War, the docks were used as a hub for the transportation of munitions, tanks and other heavy military equipment. The port was also used as a base for the Royal Navy, with ships being repaired and refitted at the docks. One of the most significant events to occur at Gloucester Docks during World War II was the arrival of the American 82nd Airborne Division in April 1944. The division used the docks as a base while they prepared for the D-Day invasion of Normandy. Over 10,000 soldiers and their equipment were transported through Gloucester Docks before being shipped across the Channel. The docks were also used as a storage site for emergency supplies such as food and medical equipment, which could be quickly transported to areas affected by air raids. During the Bristol Blitz in 1940, the docks were used as a base for rescue and recovery efforts, and many injured people were brought to the docks for medical treatment. Overall, Gloucester Docks played a crucial role in both World Wars, serving as a vital transportation hub and military base. Its strategic location and well-developed infrastructure made it an ideal location for the movement of troops and supplies, and its contribution to the war effort should not be underestimated. Sula LV14 has had a colourful life in many locations: Spurn Sandbank, Guernsey in the Channel Islands, Conway, North Wales, South Wales. Rescued in 2007 by Jan and Agnes van der Elsen, LV14 was then towed to Sharpness for renovation before being moored at Gloucester Docks in 2010. Llanthony Secunda Priory is a historic priory located southwest of Gloucester Docks. Founded in the 12th century by the Anglo-Norman nobleman Walter de Lacy and his wife Emma. The priory was named after the original Llanthony Priory, which was located in Wales and had been founded by the Welsh saint St David in the 6th century. The priory was built on land that was granted to Walter de Lacy by King Henry I. It was originally intended to be a house for Augustinian canons, but was later given to the Order of St Augustine, who established a small community there. Over the years, the priory grew in size and influence. It became an important centre of learning, with a library that was renowned throughout England. It also played a role in the political and religious life of the country, with several high-ranking officials and bishops being associated with the priory. In the 14th century, the priory was expanded with the construction of a new church and cloisters. During the English Reformation in the 16th century, the priory was dissolved by King Henry VIII, the assets were seized by the Crown, and the buildings were left to decay. The priory church was eventually demolished, and the stone was used to build other buildings in the area. In the 20th century, efforts were made to preserve the ruins. The site was purchased by the local council, and restoration work was carried out to stabilise the remaining structures. Today, Llanthony Secunda Priory is a popular tourist attraction, and its ruins provide a glimpse into the rich history of Gloucester. Well, that's our video on Gloucester Docks done. Shame you couldn't be here, darling.
You're getting a sore throat.
Well, I've done all the talking. You weren't here. You abandoned me.
I did not abandon you. I was looking after our 17-year-old son who wasn't very well.
He was puking up a bit, wasn't he?
Oh, yes.
He's better now, though. So anyway, where are we going next week?
Hopefully no locks.
No locks on the Grand Union Canal.
Yes.
Oh, I tell you what, they're really, really impressive. We went there, what, a year and a half ago?
Something like that.
Really good. Where else could we be going?
Want to play boo sticks.
Boo sticks. Oh, I remember that. That means you could be dressing up again.
Oh, yes.
Horse's head?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, we could be dressing up for that, couldn't we?
Well, I'm going to.
Anyway, meanwhile, we'd like you to...
subscribe to our channel.
Please do that. And also, please press the like button. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Goodbye.